It's the Daily Dog.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Daily Doug. Thanks for being with me today as we start a brand new week of music here on the channel. And I am excited for this week, and I hope that you are as well. It is a very special week here on the channel as we dive into music performed by and or written by women. And I am extremely pumped to dive into this piece today because it's a Monday, y'all. And you know what happens on Mondays here. It's a Metal Monday. And it's Beethoven. And you're thinking, is Beethoven metal? Beethoven's classical. Doug's lost it a little bit. No. Uh, uh, I think that this particular performance that we're going to look at today is going to be quite special. We're going to be looking at a guitar cover version of the third movement of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, performed by a young lady named Tina. On YouTube, she is known as Tina S. And I have been getting recommendations and suggestions from people to look at her covers of classic tunes for months. And this is the week, and this is the day, and I'm excited to dive into it. Before we get to her performance of this, I want to take a few minutes to walk through this piece by Beethoven, so that we know a little bit about it and can prepare for what we're about to hear. So here's some backstory. The Moonlight Sonata is a famous sonata by Beethoven. It's otherwise known as Piano Sonata number 14, Opus 27. And Beethoven completed it in 1801. It was one of his most popular pieces for the piano in his own lifetime and has continued to be one of his more popular outputs for the piano. Interestingly enough, it wasn't given the nickname of Moonlight, the Moonlight Sonata, until after his death in 1827. The marking at the beginning of it is rather interesting as well. It says quasi una fantasia. And that is an interesting title. We normally just have allegro or some other sorts of tempo markings at the beginning. It means, quasi una fantasia means like a fantasy or fantasy-like. And the sonata number 13, which is kind of a sister to this one from the same year, also has this title on it. And it has more to do with form than style or tempo, I think. It's an indication that both of these sonatas, number 13 and number 14, will stray a bit from the normal conventions of a classic piano sonata or sonata form. And it will sound at times almost like it's being improvised. So it's a move for Beethoven to kind of allow himself some freedom from the forms that have been established for this type of piece. The famous first movement, y'all all know the first movement, I'm sure, is an adagio, and it's not conventional as a first movement either, because it starts slow, and most initial or first movements of sonatas or concertos or something, they start rather quickly or not extremely slow, unless it's kind of a slow intro, and then it picks up. But not this one. The second movement is marked allegretto, which means that the music should be fast or quick, but not quite as fast as an allegro. It's kind of between and andante and an allegro. This allegretto right in the middle. And then the third movement, the last movement of this sonata, is marked as presto agitato. And presto is meaning like very fast, agitato with excitement or with some agitation. It returns to the home key of C sharp minor that the first movement was in. And this movement is in sonata form. And that's different from a song form or ternary or binary. We typically have an exposition at the beginning. And this is a section where we have multiple themes that are presented. And then we have a development section where some of those themes from the exposition are restated and developed and sort of taken apart and played with for a while. We've ended up with this transition back to a restatement of original material, and that section is called the recapitulation. So it's a play out of ternary form with A, B, A, but the B section is more developmental based on the stuff that came first. Right? So in this particular movement, we've got fast arpeggios, we've got strong accents, we've got a really big demand for expert playing, very skillful playing, and stamina to get through all of the notes that the performer is going to need to get through in this. And so all of the ambiance and the mood of the first two movements just go out the window, and we just start shredding for the third movement, which is why I think it will work very well as an electric guitar cover version. As I look into this particular video, it's got almost 40 million views, and it was uploaded in the summer of 2016. And it says it is arranged for electric guitar by a person named Dr. Viasi, and I don't know who that person is. So let's take a look, y'all. This is going to be Tina S. doing her cover of the Moonlight Sonata third movement by Ludwig van Beethoven. Y'all ready? Here we go. Right into it. Ascended dominant. Whoa. Amazing dexterity that she's playing with. Second theme. There's that big Neapolitan chord, flat 2. There it is again. Just between 1 and 4 in this little section. Goes back to the beginning. And hang on a second. Okay, it's only a minute and 38 in. It's a lot of notes, isn't it? Let me see if I can help a little bit. The main motive from the first movement, those arpeggios that sort of are slow at in that first movement, is the basis, the motivic little basis to start forming these arpeggios that go very, very fast in this movement. The second theme here, which comes in rather quickly, right? It doesn't take long to get to the second theme, is in the minor dominant. So we're starting in C sharp minor, and the first move to a different key moves to G sharp minor, and that is a bit of an odd move because normally when we would move key, if we start in a minor key, normally the first modulation would be to the relative major. So if it starts in C sharp minor, I would be expecting it to go to E major, but instead he goes to G sharp minor and keeps this minor sound throughout all of it. And as we get to the end of the exposition, that G sharp minor, that minor dominant, becomes a minor dominant back to the C sharp minor start, and that's where we currently are, is in the restatement of this exposition. Off we go. Little syncopation in there. There's that big Neapolitan flat 2. Yum. It's very fast. I know the piece, so it's not like I'm hearing this for the first time, even though I am. The notes are familiar, the texture is new. Now, hang on a second. So that was the end of that restatement of the of the exposition. So now we're going into the development section, and it starts in C sharp, but it turns major at the very beginning. So in this little section, you're going to hear little snippets of the melodies that we've heard before, but they're going to be a little bit transformed, maybe put in different voices, and it's going to be a fun ride. Off we go. There's that tune. Now you hear it in the accompaniment, which is an interesting choice. Whoa. Got this extended pedal on a G sharp. It's this transition back to the home key. It's down there. Yum. Then back to the beginning. So this is going to be the recapitulation of the opening material. Same music that we heard at the beginning. Except the second theme now is still in C sharp. It doesn't go to G sharp minor like it did before. It stays in C sharp minor, which is common for a recapitulation. All the themes stay in the home key at the end. And there's that same Neapolitan as before, but in the different key. I'm astounded by her playing, by the way. So we go into this coda towards the end, and it's almost like a cadenza. It's an extended coda. And we hear some of these previous notes again. It's almost like the development section starts to come back, but it's more of a cadenza to me than a development section. Whoa! That's a great chord. And then a little breather before the final push. Big dominant. She looks off camera. She's like, that's how we do that. Wow. Wow. Successful, I think. Don't you? I think that was quite successful. And amazing. Absolutely incredible playing, y'all. I can't get my fingers to move that fast. That is for sure. The interesting thing about this, I mentioned the cadenza. We don't normally have cadenzas in sonatas. Sonatas are pieces for solo instruments the whole way through. So the fact that this was accompanied by this backing track is a little strange to me because it's designed to be played by one person doing everything, right? So it's an arrangement of the original piece where you had, your two hands playing everything. There's a backing track with some programmed drums and sort of a rock feel to it that she's then playing with, and works just fine, right? Absolutely works great. But a cadenza is normally reserved for concertos, which would be similarly, featuring pieces for soloists. But instead of being by yourself, you're normally with an orchestra or with a backing ensemble. So in this instance, it almost feels like it's more of a concerto excerpt than a sonata excerpt. And putting a cadenza, this opportunity for the soloist to show their stuff, to be a little bit improvisational, and to do some really fantastic, virtuosic things, normally happens in a concerto and not in a sonata. So the fact that he includes this little section towards the end is a little interesting to me, and it goes back to the Fantasia like quality of it that he told us it was going to be at the very beginning. The only critique that I would have of this, y'all, in Beethoven's original, he makes certain in his dynamic markings that we're paying attention to these contrasts between soft volumes and loud volumes. And in this arrangement, we don't get that nuance. At the very beginning, it's piano, then chords, bang, bang, right? So it's soft, 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 then loud, then soft again. And that's part of what makes Beethoven Beethoven. There are these really sharp, dynamic contrasts between softs and louds. We don't get very often these big, long crescendos that allow the music to grow. It's normally quite a difference from a soft to a loud, these sudden shifts. And this particular performance, everything sounded loud. And so we didn't get that contrast of some of the softs and then the louds filtered in. And I'm not sure how they might do that with a guitar, especially an amplified guitar. Although I think that it may be possible, but I don't know enough about the technique of playing an amplified instrument like a guitar to know for sure how possible it is. But it's just something in the composition that I missed a little bit. That being said, holy shit. Y'all, Tina can play. She hasn't put out new videos in a long time. I'm not sure what she's up to nowadays, but I wish her well, and I am thankful that she provided us with this really cool cover version of the third movement of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, a great way to kick off Women's Week here on the channel, and I am glad that you have been here. I can't wait to get into all this other great music that we're going to be looking at this week, but that is all for today. Thanks, everybody, and we will see you next time on another edition of the Daily Doug.